Hi guys, good evening and welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host Eddie, and in tonight's video, as I continue to play catch up on all my content that I've missed the past couple days, I'll now bring you my episode review for the latest episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, which dropped a few days ago this past Thursday on Paramount Plus. I actually managed to watch it when it dropped a few days ago. Even though I was out of town, I was at a family member's house, and I managed to watch it on the Paramount Plus account that was there, so I didn't get to miss it after all. And it was pretty good. I liked it fine, but before I get into all of that, of course, please be warned, this is a spoiler-filled review. So if you're not caught up on Lower Decks by the latest and newest episode, which I believe is episode 4, I think? Episode 4? Yeah. Do not keep watching or listening, as I will be discussing spoilers, plot details, character stuff, all that jazz. That being said, you have been warned. Oh, and I just looked over at my information here. I'm sorry, episode 3, not 4. Episode 3 it is. So, my apologies for that. This is for the review for episode 3. So, let's make it so, as Picard would say. You know, this episode was fine. It had its moments. It wasn't as funny as previous episodes were. It had some moments that did make me chuckle, but nothing that really made me laugh out loud, like a hearty, type of laugh. But there were moments that made me chuckle and had me smiling. I did like how at the very end of the episode, it turns out it was the higher-ranking officers pulling one over on the junior lieutenants. When they were all paranoid and thought that they were just being hazed by the fellow officers. And it turns out they were by Ransom and the other guy. And they just had him doing tedious, meaningless work. But it took up most of the episode. And it did seem to improve the work ethic of Tendi, Mariner, and Rutherford. And Boimler got a pretty interesting storyline in this episode. Actually, we got to see some growth and development on his part, because he was dealing with an away mission where he was in charge, but he did have T'Lyn with him. And T'Lyn was actually pretty good comic relief throughout this episode, as well as excellent moral support for Brad, as he ends up making a sacrificial move, which ends up saving his entire team, and briefly kills him as he sees the koala, which I guess is the shape of the creator of the universe or God or something like that. It's a koala or whatever, but it's funny though. And of course he's brought back to life, obviously. But Bradward had a good storyline in this episode. He was a bit annoying at moments, but he made up for it as the episode went along and it got closer to the end and the resolution and whatnot. Like I said, this was a pretty good episode, but wasn't one of my favorites. And this episode kind of felt like filler more than it did actually contributing to the overall plot line or storyline of the season, which, as far as I can tell, still has to do with that mysterious ship that destroyed the Klingon and Romulan ships in the beginning of the season. So this episode just more felt like filler, more or less, for the most part, but entertaining filler, at least, all the same. Well, again, for the most part. But that's what I thought of it. Just your standard shenanigans episode. Our characters are split up or working together, and they just find themselves in different shenanigans and life or death situations that always seem to work themselves out. So at least there's that. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode review of Star Trek Lower Decks, and this episode as well. What did you think of it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings on it. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Thanks again for bearing with me as I slowly play catch up. Star Trek Lower Decks streams new episodes every Thursday on Paramount Plus. Have an awesome rest of your night, everyone. Thanks for watching. And of course, until next time, live long and prosper.